Hi, this is Chaya Grossberg, and I'd like to talk today about silencing. So you might think that because I write a lot and can be outspoken, that speaking isn't really hard for me, or that sharing my ideas comes easily. But I'd like to counteract that viewpoint by sharing a bit more honestly about why I write so much and why writing sometimes feels like the only place that I'm safe. And also why there are still a lot of things that I don't share, that I write but that I don't feel I can share. And I'm speaking to you at this very moment because I'm feeling extremely silenced, and I just want to let you know, if you read my writing, or if you're a friend or somebody who knows me or somebody who follows me online, that my writing passion comes from feeling extremely silenced. And I regularly get into states where I feel so silenced that my heart, my chest, and my throat literally start to feel closed up and I can hardly breathe. And that's how I'm feeling actually right now, or how I was before I started this video. And it occurred to me to make this video because I think a lot of us are so silenced, and there's so much that feels unsafe to share about. I wrote a poem last week about some abuse that happened in my family, and I feel terrified to share it, and my throat starts closing up, but I get like sadness in my heart and my chest, and it's hard for me to speak. It's literally hard for me to speak or to reach out at all to a friend or anyone when I get into this space where it's hard to share, especially when I feel like I can't share about my trauma. It's really overwhelming, and I think it's a conundrum that everyone faces, especially writers and people who feel the call to share their lives, to share really openly everything that's happened to them and how they actually process and how they actually go through life. Because I think somebody who feels connected with the archetype of the writer or the teacher tends to feel like we need to reveal ourselves. We need to share honestly and openly everything about our process, because that is how we can most offer connection to other people and guidance and an example, or even just a sense of humanity and realness and openness. And that's really my commitment in life. When I share things, I never try to make myself seem like I know everything, or like my way is the best way for everyone, or even like I'm confident. I really opt to share just completely authentically exactly what comes through me. And I think for that reason it's very painful when something comes through me and then I get a block. It's like, wait, this could hurt somebody, or somebody could be offended by this. I had a similar experience actually. This was the piece I wrote that got me started in blogging, which was about a friend of mine who committed suicide several years ago, and I wrote a very intense piece about him, but I was terrified to share it, terrified, because I didn't know if it would offend his family or other of his friends, or if my perspective would somehow be considered offensive, wrong, completely unacceptable to some people. But at the same time, I started to get physical symptoms when I wasn't sharing it, so I just knew that I had to. Like, my shoulder was tightening up, my neck was tightening up, my neck seized up for weeks, and I tried everything to release it. I tried acupuncture, massage, vitamins, eating different things, exercise, stretches, everything you could imagine, homeopathy, creams, muscle rubs, everything, and none of it worked until I shared this piece. So, and that piece I don't think was even particularly offensive to anyone. Hopefully, I don't know, actually I still really don't know. But the piece that I wrote last week about some abuse is specifically about a specific person's abuse that I witnessed and that affected me in my childhood. And it's so scary to put that out there. It's terrifying, and I don't even know why it's so terrifying, but for me it is. And it causes this blockage, this seizing up in my body. So I don't have any answers today. I'm just really wanting to share this with you as part of my process of writing and putting things out there, because if I'm encouraging other people to put their vulnerability out there, I need to do the same thing, and I need to also just share when I can't, when I don't feel ready, and that might just be for the rest of today, or maybe the rest of this hour. Maybe I'll be ready soon. And I think it's important to honor ourselves when we don't feel ready, but I know that, that not readiness, it can be really valid, and it can also be out of fear that isn't really fair, because just because I couldn't act when I was a child, when I was a small child, I couldn't do anything, all my fears were holding me back, and I was in a situation where it may have been very dangerous for me to act or speak on what was happening at times. So I think in a way, starting to speak out and just share our experiences is the process of becoming an adult and being able to say what happens in our own words and not have to feel that we're a child dependent on somebody else's approval for our survival. So with that, I will say I'd love if you could share some of your own experiences of overcoming your fears of expressing your own experience. So again, when I talk about abuse that I or people around me have experienced, I totally get that abusers have had their own experiences too, their own abuse. They've experienced their own trauma, and my purpose in sharing it is not to shame that person. It's not to say that person is bad, but it is to say that person's actions affected me. I was harmed, I was hurt, and it's still with me. I still feel silenced 25 years later by those actions. And if I continue to silence myself and not speak, it's going to continue to wreak havoc on my life. So the only thing that I can do to free myself is to allow myself to speak. And I also strongly believe that as we allow ourselves to speak out about our own experiences, the perpetrators of abuse are also liberated, because they cannot be free while their actions create a silencing and harmful effect in us. So please share with me your own process around this topic. I know a lot of people have fears of writing and sharing things about abuse that they experienced or that they witnessed. And a lot of people have fears, you probably might have fears of just expressing yourself at all in general because of abuse you may have been privy to or a victim of in your childhood. So I just wanna hug you. I wanna hug everyone who feels this fear, because I know we're in it together, and I know that the more we speak, the more we share, the more free we will all be.